First off, congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
I've only seen the first episode, but I feel like...
So have we.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
You've not seen the rest?
No.
It's pretty good.
Oh, good.
It's kind of good for us when we see the first one because it kind of gives you a flavour of what it is, but it leaves you wanting more. So when you read the script for the first one, was that your first kind of entry into it, or had you read the book, shall I say, or was it that original script that kind of spoke to you and wanted you to get involved?
Script first, which was really brilliant page turner, and then I was meeting Harlan the next day, and I attempted to get through the whole book overnight, but I got about 3/4 of the way through, and it was 4 a.m. I thought, actually, I should put this down, but it was such a page turner. It's exactly the kind of thriller that I just love getting involved with.
It's very. I described it to my friend this morning. I watched it this morning actually. Described it to my friend, and every sort of twist, she was like, "What?" And then it was like, what? What's going on? Was that the same for when you read that script, that it was one of those page turners that you were just like, oh my goodness me.
Yeah, it's always a treat when you get a script and you don't lose the will to live by about page 10. And you didn't with this one. You were really fascinated and wanted to see it right through to the end to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think within the first 15 minutes, the bomb is dropped on your characters. I think for me, it was also just how quickly the kind of drama sets in the story, which is riveting because you can only go up from there in terms of story. And I was like, wow, it's jam-packed, full of story drama.
Yeah, because it starts quite lovely. You're sitting in the car with your kids, singing along to Bruce Springsteen, having a game of football. Although you're terrible in goal, I will say you are.
I mean, there was so little time to deliver Happy Family before it's like... but yeah, there's a lot of goodies in episode 1, isn't there? I mean, in a way, the scene with Adam and Corinne, which often gets kind of eked out over a number of episodes, it's all up there in the first episode, and you think, well, where do we go from here? So, a long way to go.
Yeah, and then you come in, and there's literally no warning. You're
that's
just there.
it. Yeah.
I know that obviously the title, the thing gives it away, but it really is like a bomb going off. You drop these things.
Yeah.
You think, is she telling the truth? Is she trying to manipulate him? But it leaves you wanting so much more. What was it about your character? Because you don't really get a sense of her in the first episode, nor I guess through the
she's
whole
just
season.
so mysterious.
Yeah.
It's like she's just so. You know, you do at the first go, who is this person? Where did she come from, and why? And for me, you know, talking with Harlan and Danny to find out the actual arc of why she's doing this and who she is. I mean, the unravelling of her story as well is something that fascinated me as well, with taking on the role. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing. Like, you don't get to play that a lot.
Yeah, and also you get all these policemen investigating beheadings of animals, which is completely off left field.
Yeah.
But again, in the first episode, you get a sense of it. You think you want to know more, but also you don't, because you want to go on the journey, as the same way that your character does. That she's presented with something quite strange.
They're the police minding their own business, just solving everyday crime like the beheading of animals. But over the course of the story, the paths all start to cross. So you get to see everybody. The impact it's having on everybody, the strangers, the impact of the stranger telling secrets on everybody, most of the cast actually, isn't it? Yeah.
Had you been fans of Harlan's work before? Had you read his books, or was this kind of your first entry into meeting him?
I had read any of his books. It was the first time I'd read one of his books.
Yeah, what is it about him that you think so compelling? Because he's written so many books and he's got such a huge fan base, because he's able to create such psychological and complex stories out of kind of everyday life, if you like.
He's just so good at it.
You just said it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
Exactly.
He creates complex psychological stories out of and they're ordinary people with these extraordinary things happening to them. And what it does is it makes you, as a reader or a viewer, you can easily put yourself in the position of regular guy, dad, Adam Price. What would that feel like if that happened to me? How would I behave? And then you just watch them trying to deal with it.
It's a big what if, you know, what if it happened to you? And yeah, it's fascinating.
How do you guys enjoy the unique challenges of doing TV, where you get to spend a little bit longer with a character than, say, you would? Because you've all made movies. You two have made obviously huge movies, and you've made movies such as
I've made
Apostasy.
small
You've
movies.
been going for many years.
You two have made huge movies.
Huge movies.
Have you been in some, Siobhan? Yeah, small, very low budget.
What I will say is on my best of the year list last year, your film Apostasy was very high.
Thank you.
So I wheel that back.
I'm only
But
joking.
do you enjoy the kind of unique challenges of spending more time with a character than you would on a film where it comes out that it's just an hour, 2 hours, where this you get to spend so much time.
6 months, I feel like.
Yeah.
We did. Did we do like 6 months altogether?
Yeah, I feel like with this as well, it was slightly different. As Nicola said earlier on, it's not story of the week. It's one long story. It felt like we were making one long piece. I mean, even though we were switching scripts and directors, sometimes we were shooting three episodes at the same time, which sometimes can really screw with your mind. But it didn't feel like that. It just felt like we had 8 hours to tell one story, which is brilliant. I mean, you get to put all that detail in and take your time. It's great.
It's like you said earlier, Richard. It's our story only spans across a couple of weeks, if that.
Yeah.
So it's 8 hours, but we're seeing maybe 10 to 14 days in the lives of these people. So that's something else as well. I had to remind myself of that when we were on set, going, this is 6 months haven't passed. This is this is literally the next morning. So,
I've aged 3 months from by the time that started.
Did Harlan and the other sort of writers and directors, did they give you a kind of signal as to where the characters have come from, or do you kind of fill in the gaps as to, because obviously it's a very particular moment in their lives. Do you create a backstory in your head, or does he kind of ask you the questions, where do you think they've come from, or?
I think I got a bit of my backstory from the book actually, but none of that really appears in the scripts. So that was just something for me to have in my head. Just why Joanna and Heidi were such good friends. Jennifer Saunders plays Heidi, so I got that from the book. I don't know if we got kind of a character sort of thing, what is the word I'm looking for? Study.
Like a little biography.
Yeah.
Get to fill in the gaps, I guess. So that's.
Yeah.
Well, mine's completely story driven. It's all completely. I can't. In me approaching the character, I couldn't go, right, I'm going to give myself this backstory or kind of fill in my own gaps. It had to be completely what is going to be unravelled and
Yours was probably the most kind of invented backstory, wasn't it? Because we really start to see who she is, which doesn't appear in the book. It's quite unsatisfying, actually. I think it's something that's so much better in the show.
in the script,
Yeah, and just as a final question, I mean, Netflix has become such a kind of juggernaut for television shows and for people to be able to create these stories that you might not see any other time. Are you Netflix aficionados yourself? Do you like the format of Netflix where people can binge, or they can watch one every week? Or
I really love the bit where you scroll up and it says, if you liked that, you'll love this. That whatever it's called. You watch this. I could spend because usually they're right. You find something that you would never have found. And it's brilliant. It feels very tailored to your own taste.
Absolutely, because there's so much on Netflix. I mean, it's so hard to kind of go out and, right, okay, but, if I've watched loads of crime, then suddenly it's like, if you liked this, then you're going to like this one. I'm like, oh, God, am I? Yeah. And then I kind of go on it, and I'm like, oh, I love that. And then it's, so it kind of does, completely tailored to your needs.
Yeah.
And I like a good binge as well.
It seems like it is the next kind of good binge for people.
Oh,
kind of
fingers crossed.
Isn't it? Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Lovely to talk to you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You